Shall we start? Good morning. Yeah. Had your breakfast? తినకుండా అయితే క్లాస్కి రావుతారని కదా. Fine. Page number 1. Right top. Right top. GST revenue hits record 2.43 lakh crore in April. The article says that GST revenue hits record 2.43 lakh crore in April. Now, obviously, you need not remember these numbers. It is not at all of use for us. Now, for us, the most important thing is GST. We need to know about that. Okay. Now, first of all, the article says that when the GST started from 2017, from then this April 2026 had got the highest revenue. Every month we will be having GST collections. Now, this month got 2.43 lakh crore per single month. Now, if we look at last year April, it is around 2.1 lakh crore. It is a good sign actually. That means tax collection and tax buoyancy of the governments are increasing. That is a good sign. Now, anyway, we do not want these numbers or anything. We need to know about a thing called as GST. Full form of GST? Goods and Services Tax. Now, anyway, what is this GST? What is indirect tax? Okay, fine. See, first of all, as you said, as yesterday we had seen static of that revenue budget, capital budget. Today we will see related to this taxation. Now, see, GST, as you mentioned, it is an indirect tax. Now, we need to know what are the different types of taxes. We will be having two types of taxes. First is direct tax, second is indirect tax. Tell me what is meant by tax first of all, anything? Tax. For the activities and works the government is doing, the money which you are paying is called as tax. Later on you will be knowing that we will be naming this as transfer payment. Anyway, that is later part. Now, this tax is of two types, direct tax and indirect tax. Now, what is the meaning here? See, కనిపిస్తుందా? Right. Now, to tell something as a direct tax or indirect tax, we need to first of all know about 2 points called as impact, 2 points called as impact and incidence. Now, see, first of all, what is meant by impact in English? What is the meaning of impact? Where effect is there? Incidence, on which point effect is there? Fine. Now, see, tell me an example of direct tax. Example of direct tax, income tax, corporate tax. Now, say, for example, income tax, your parents or you are earning, money will be deducted from you by the government. Now, from where money is getting deducted? Say, for example, consider your mother is earning money. Now, money is being deducted from your mother account. So, incidence, where the point of money collection is? Your mother account. So, incidence in that case is your mother account. Now, point of collection is called as incidence. There from your mother account only it is getting removed. Impact, ఎవరి మీద impact పడుతుంది? Whose money it is going on? Your mother's account only. Now, in the case of direct tax, incidence and impact both are your mother. This is called as direct tax. Now, you will be understanding this when we will be comparing it with indirect tax. Now, example of indirect tax is GST. Now, GST, for example, take your yesterday in the paper we had seen Mysore sandal ad. Now, Mysore sandal soap will be manufactured by the Mysore sandal company. They will be paying the GST to the government. Now, incidence, who is paying the money? Company. So, incidence is the Mysore sandal company. Now, whether they are imposing that GST on us, we are paying 18% GST on it, right? Impact our మీద పడుతుంది ఫైనల్ గా people, right? Now, if on any tax, if impact and incidence are on the same person, that is called as direct tax. If impact and incidence are on the different persons, that is indirect tax. Understood? Now, that means even though the point of incidence, the payment of GST is by the company, but that will be transferred to the people. That ante impact వాళ్ళ మీద ఏం ఉంచుకోవట్లేదు, they are transferring that to the people. Can I say impact and incidence are on two different points? That type of tax is called as indirect tax, and example of that is GST. Clear everyone? This is the basic concept you need to understand before looking into the taxation chapter. I hope it is clear. Shall I tell again? Understood everyone? Right. So, we will be dividing tax either a direct or an indirect based on the impact and incidence. Now, if I have to further go here, what is happening here? In the impact, in the indirect tax, if the indirect tax is on rice, say for example, government had increased GST on the Mysore sandal soap, more amount will be deducted from the company, but will be having any impact? He will be imposing more tax on us. So, basically, if the tax burden can be transferred to other person, that is called as GST, indirect tax. Now, if the tax burden cannot be transferred to the other person, that is called as direct tax. Say for example, in your house, if you are having some cook, say government had increased GST, income tax from 10% to 15%, can you increase the deduction from them? They won't be accepting extraordinary రావడం మానేస్తారు అంతే కదా. So, we cannot transfer that taxation to other person, that is called as direct tax. Clear everyone? Now, this GST as I mentioned is one of the major example of indirect tax in our country. Right. Now, what is the system? See, GST introduced in our country only in 2017, but from the independence we are having tax collection. మీరు చిన్నప్పుడు నుండి కడుతున్నారు కదా. Now, what is the scenario before? The thing is that, see, earlier individual states used to have their own individual taxation system. I am talking about indirect taxes. A state lo ekkada produce aithe, whenever a soap is being produced on their state, they used to impose a tax. Again, when it used to be transferred to another state, they used to impose their own tax. This is called as value added tax. We will see this later on. We will be calling this as VAT or state VAT. VAT tax and antam. Now, what is the problem? There is no same type of VAT on all the states, because it is kept by the states. What is happening? Some states are keeping 20%, some states are keeping 30%, some states are keeping 0%. Now, interstate transfers are not having any clarity, and further what is happening? Initially, a good when it is being manufactured, it must be paid here, tax must be paid here. Again, when it is going to other state, it must be paid over there. Lot of clumsiness. What is happening? Even who will be paying? On whom final impact will be there? Customer. So, what is happening? A tax on tax is being imposed. This is called as cascading effect. దానివల్ల ఏం జరుగుతుంది? Finally, inflation, rise in the prices, right? So, because of the earlier taxation system, the problem is that prices of the goods are being increased. Now, tell me, if the prices of goods are increased, Can people buy more? Less production, sorry, less buying, less production, less GDP, isn't it? Next, say number of say cost of that product is high because of the taxes. Will that product have export competitiveness? Will the export market use this? They will be buying only if the cost of product is less. Vietnam దగ్గర బంగ్లాదేశ్ దగ్గర కొనుక్కుంటారు కదా, మన దగ్గర ఎందుకు కొనుక్కోవాలి, రైట్? Considering all these factors, exports, GDP, inflation, to uniform taxation system and all, in 2017 government of India had come up with a major reform called as goods and services tax, which is also called as one nation one tax, single indirect taxation system for the entire country. Now you will be buying a soap, be it in Anakapalli or in Hyderabad or in Himachal Pradesh, you will be having the same percentage of tax, same percentage of tax, and this tax will be collected by the central government. This tax will be collected by the central government. Later on, central government will be transferring that component to the state. Okay, because anta uniform antunam kada, so to have better clarity, central government will be collecting the things and it will be transferring the fund to the states. Now if you go to any restaurant or say you buy anything, there you will be seeing GST, there CGST, SGST అని చెప్పి రెండు కనిపిస్తాయి, central GST, state GST. For example, if on a car, if you are buying 18% GST is there, in this 18% will be collected by the center, 9% will be kept by the center, another 9% will be given to the states. Understood? This is the system of goods and services tax. Can I say it had simplified lot of things? Earlier, see, under this GST, more than 18 taxes have been subsumed. Earlier we used to have different types of taxes, entertainment tax, octroi tax, VAT, SEN-VAT, different types of taxes are there. Many types of, I cannot say 100% of the tax have been consumed, but 99% of the taxes have been subsumed under this. Okay. For example, tax on petrol, tax on electricity, tax on alcohol have not been subsumed. Avi separate gaane uncham. Now, because states didn't accept, this is the GST. Understood? Now, we are calling it as indirect tax. You know why we are calling it as indirect tax? You know why we are calling it as one nation, one tax? Because for the entire nation, same rates are applicable. We will be also calling it as dual tax mechanism. Why? The reason is we are collecting the tax and sharing between the center and the states. This is called as dual tax mechanism. And now, this GST is also called as destination based tax. Destination based tax. What is the meaning of this? See, again you will be getting all these things in your static part, not an issue. Just listen the things properly. Destination based tax. Earlier, say for example, Hyderabad is producing one product. You are consuming. You are consuming in Hyderabad. Now, tax will be shared, even before also tax will be shared between the Telangana and central government, India. Now, say for example, if I am sending that product to Andhra Pradesh, someone is consuming that product in, say, Britannia biscuit packet got manufactured in Hyderabad, that biscuit packet went to Visakhapatnam and you are consuming. Akkada meer konnaru adi. Now, the tax will be shared between the Telangana and central government. This is the earlier system. Now, with the change GST, this became destination based tax or consumption based tax. That means finally where the product will be consumed, with that state center will be sharing. Advainda? That means, say for example, the problem is that earlier the manufacturing states used to get more tax revenue. Now, the consumption based states are getting more tax revenue. Advainda the difference? That's why we will also call it as destination based tax. Clear? Everyone? Next, further, one more thing as part of our GST, as I mentioned, to implement all these things we require some type of mechanism. Now, how this GST system came into our country? See, earlier constitution had given a right for the states to have their own indirect tax. Direct tax used to be kept by the central government itself. Our constitution under 279 had given power to the states. So we have to make this, change this. For to implement GST, we have to change the constitution. So for that, in 2017, we had come up with 101 Constitutional Amendment Act 2017. We had made an amendment to the constitution, 101 Constitution Amendment Act, and we had added an article called as Article 279A. Article 279A, this had brought the goods and services tax into our country. Now with this system, are you feeling that comparatively the taxation became easier? So that's why we will be also calling this GST as good simple tax, goods and services tax, good simple tax, right? Now many more things we have to discuss with respect to GST. With the time when the articles will be coming in the news, we can discuss GST compensation, loss to the states, revenue neutral rate and all, right? Understood what is meant by GST, please?
Indirect tax works on the basis of equity, direct tax works on based on equity, whereas indirect tax is shared equally among all classes based on income.
Okay, you are asking that. See, for example, in the, once I repeat that statement.
Direct tax works on the basis of equity, whereas indirect based on equality.
Okay, so what is meant by equality? To understand that statement, Sai Priyanka is telling that this indirect tax is based on equality and direct tax is based on equity. Now for understanding that, before you need to know the meaning difference between equality and equity. Equality means everyone, irrespective of class, caste and gender, we are applying the same norms, no changes at all. In the equity, based on the problems being faced by the some persons, we will be giving them more preference. For example, 33% reservation to the women, SC/ST reservation. Now idea enti ante, see for example, say why the major reason for the provision of reservation in the constitution is that some sections of the society had faced historical injustice. Historical injustice faced cheyadam valla what had happened, they were unable to get opportunities to read properly, to get educated. So because of that, they are relatively poor, socially and economically backward currently. So what we thought, what is a mistake they had done? They hadn't done any mistake, but because of the societal circumstances, they had faced the problem. Now say for example, if you are keeping an examination, everyone should be equally educated, equally established, everyone should be equally situated, but some persons are not equally situated. Some persons are not equally situated because they had faced some historical injustice. So for example, some persons are there here, some persons are there here because of the historical injustice. Understood? Now to make them equal, we will be giving them some benefits. For example, free education, free hostel facility, or some type of reservation, reservation in jobs, reservation in legislature, so that they can become same to the mainstream society. Now here for sure we have to accept that we are not looking both of them equally, but we are giving some additional preference because they had faced some problem in the past. This is a discrimination, but this is called as positive discrimination. Affirmative action policy, positive discrimination to make them equal. This is called as equity. Andamai equity ante ento. Now we are calling direct tax as indirect tax as equality and direct tax as equity, right? Karanam enti, now a person is earning more. For example, in India currently, if a person is earning above 30 lakhs, he have to pay 30% tax, above 15 lakhs, 15% tax, above 10 lakhs, 10% tax. With a rise in income, whether tax is being changed, ఈక్విటీ తక్కువ సంపాదించే వాళ్ళ మీద తక్కువ ట్యాక్స్ ఉండాలి, ఈక్విటీ. Now whether Ambani will be paying the same 18% GST on Mysore sandal, we also will be paying the same 18% GST on the Mysore sandal, that is equality.
Can we not change indirect tax on the principle of equity? Because poorer economy.
That is a problem actually. That's why governments will be generally not trying to change indirect taxes, because entire society will be affected. Entire society will be affected. That is a problem actually, that when for example if we look at the net percentage terms, poor person is paying more. Indirect tax 18% ఉన్నప్పుడు అమ్మాని మైసూర్ శాండిల్లో 4 రూపాయలు కట్టడానికి ఆయనకేం ప్రాబ్లం కాదు. బట్ ఫర్ ఎ పువర్ పర్సన్ దట్ ఈస్ ఎ ప్రాబ్లం యాజ్ ఎ పర్సంటేజ్ టర్మ్స్. దట్ ఈస్ ఎ మేజర్ ఫాల్ట్ బిహైండ్ దిస్ ఇండైరెక్ట్ taxation system. Right? Understood? So the thing you need to understand is that equality versus equity and this direct tax or indirect taxation. Clear? Please. Yeah, no, there are many more problems. Not ఇందాక చెప్పాను కదా, with time everything will be coming in the paper, then we can discuss. For example, next week there is a scheduled GST council meeting. At that time we can discuss, since anyway you are asking. See, GST council, GST was introduced into our constitution under article 279A. Under article 279A, to implement anything we need some type of committee. Now for that we had created an organization called as GST council. GST council. Now earlier we are removing the taxation power from the state and we are giving to the center kada. States won't be accepting. So center em cheppindante, in making the decisions related to GST, you will be the major member. So what it had done in the GST council, this GST council is a major player to decide on what type of good, how much should be the tax, ఎంత ట్యాక్స్ ఉండాలి ఏంటి ప్రతిదీ కూడా డిసైడెడ్ బై GST council only. Now this GST council will be headed by finance minister, chairman is finance minister, and members will be the finance ministers from all the states. Central finance minister will be the Nirmala Sitharaman madam will be the chairman, and members will be the all the persons. Now the problem which Sainath is telling, the problem which Sainath is telling is, in taking a decision as per the constitution, for taking a decision in the GST council, since there will be many states, only we can take a decision. Obviously some opposition parties will be there. So to take a decision, they had given that 3/4 majority is required. That means 75% of the votes. For example, say in the alcohol, on the alcohol today GST is not applicable. GST council had moved a decision to impose GST on the alcohol. For passing of that decision, 75% of the members in the GST council must take the decision. Problem ekkada ostadante, since the center is a single body, we cannot give it one vote. Obviously tappu kada. So weighted voting ane system తీసుకొని వచ్చాం. Weight of one vote of center is 33%, that is 1/3. Weight of votes of all the states combined is 2/3, means 66%. Now see the magic here. If all the states combinedly decided to pass a resolution, what is their maximum voting capacity? 66%. To take a decision 75%. అంటే అందరూ స్టేట్స్ కలిసినా సరే, ఇఫ్ సెంటర్ ఈజ్ నాట్ సపోర్టింగ్, దే కెనాట్ టేక్ ది డెసిషన్. దిస్ ఈజ్ ద ప్రాబ్లమ్ ఇన్ ది ఫిస్కల్ ఫెడరలిజం. దిస్ ఈజ్ ఎ ప్రాబ్లమ్ టు ది ఫెడరలిజం. అర్థమైందా? రైట్. ఎనీవే విల్ సీ దట్ లేటర్ ఆన్. నెక్స్ట్, Trump not satisfied with Iran's peace bid. Obviously, he won't be satisfied. Page number 3. State government unveils heat wave action plan. State government unveils heat wave action plan. See, we had discussed about heat wave in the past. Now due to the summer we will be having heat, and along with that due to the climate change also, because of the rise in the global warming and urban heat island effect, different scenarios, we are facing the problem of heat. You will be accepting that. Now the further thing is that in this heat wave action plan, we had seen what is the criteria to define something as heat wave. In the plain area it should be 45%, in the mountain area it should be above 37%, 37 degrees and all. Anyway, that is given by National Disaster Management Authority. Now, ikkada enti anante, see, generally a disaster is governed by Disaster Management Act 2005. We know for everything we need some act to regulate. Similarly, to handle the disasters we are having this Disaster Management Act 2005. Aithe, this Disaster Management Act had notified as disasters for only 13 disasters. Cyclone, floods, tsunami, only 13 disasters have been considered as notified disasters under Disaster Management Act 2005. Problem enti ante, in case of any disasters, people will be losing their land, housing, agriculture and all, crops and all. We need to give compensation. Now that compensation will be coming from a fund called as National Disaster Response Fund plus State Disaster Response Fund. From this fund, people will be getting the compensation. The problem enti ante, as per the rules of the Disaster Management Act, we can give funding only if that is a notified disaster. If it is a notified disaster. Now, heat wave is not a notified disaster. Now, if some person is dying because of sunstroke, because of heat wave, we cannot, sunstroke ante telusu kada. Because of heat wave, there is chance of sunstroke. If some person is dying because of sunstroke, because of heat wave, we cannot give money, because this is not a notified disaster under the Disaster Management Act. And for the for heat wave, since it is not a notified disaster, we do not have any clear-cut guidelines from the NDMA on how to handle this. So, individual states must have their own plan. Now, Telangana government had, now see that article, Telangana government had released their own heat wave action plan, because we do not have any national level criteria for heat wave. Clear? Now, one more thing. So, this is not a national disaster, you are accepting now. So, what Finance Commission and the Disaster Management Act had allowed to the states. So, if you want to give funds, you can, we won't be announcing a disaster as a national disaster, you can announce a disaster as a state disaster or a local disaster. If you are announcing something as a state disaster, as a local disaster, there is a condition that 10% of the funds from this SDRF, please, 10% of the funds from the SDRF can be used for that local disaster. Understood? Now, for example, recently 1 week back, Kerala had announced heat wave as a local disaster. They can use funding. Similarly, Odisha had announced snake bite as a local disaster. Maharashtra had announced lightning as a local disaster. They can use funds from the SDRF to solve that crisis. Understood? This is the thing you need to know. I hope it is clear. From the Consolidated Fund of India, we will be getting the funds. That means every year in the budget, we will be allocating some amount of funds for this. We won't be getting additional funds to that. That is the reason. Okay. Now, you will be getting these topics as part of your disaster management. In our GS3, we are having disaster management. There you will be getting this. Next. Page number 9. Karnataka launches official portal to assist. Karnataka launches official portal to assist gig workers. Now, gig worker is an important topic as part of our GS1 society, GS2 social justice, GS3 economy, GS4 ethics in your essay, and in different portions of the examination also. Now, అక్కడ న్యూస్ ఏంటి, కర్ణాటక లాంచెస్ అఫీషియల్ పోర్టల్ టు అసిస్ట్ గిగ్ వర్కర్స్. దట్ ఈస్ నాట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్, బట్ ది కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ గిగ్ వర్కర్స్ ఈజ్ ఇంపార్టెంట్. నౌ వాట్ ఈజ్ మెంట్ బై ఏ గిగ్ వర్కర్? టెంపరీ వర్కరా గిగ్ వర్కరా? రెండు వేరు వేరు. There might be many people with unequal pay. Contract workers also won't be having job security. Very good. Now, gig worker means if the payment is based on piece of work, if payment is based on piece of work, that is called as a gig. Asal gig antene piece of work ani. If payment is based on piece of work, that worker is called as gig worker, and the economy of that is called as gig economy. For example, say Swiggy person is getting 30 rupees for your delivery. For that piece of work, I will be paid per 1 hour of class. For me, piece of work is based on hours. Now see, gig worker doesn't only mean that there should be low level jobs. Low level jobs untai, high level jobs like teaching untai, freelance, everything can be considered as gig worker. I am a freelancer here, right? So my payment will be based on number of hours I will be teaching. Now similarly, say this Swiggy workers or Uber or say porter, all these the workers over there will be getting the money based on their piece of work. Now the problem with respect to high level gig workers kaithe em problem ledu, they will be earning good and all, but the problem with respect to low level gig workers like cab drivers, all this thing is that there is no job security. There is no job security. Now further bigger problem benefit is that they can work on their choice. Benefit with respect to this gig economy is that whenever they want they can work, they can build their other career if they want, and they can leave whenever they do not want. This is the benefit. That means it will be very much beneficial, but the problem with respect to the gig economy is that they won't be having any PF, they won't be having any healthcare benefits. Ivevi undavu. Next, NPS lo payment undadu. There is no job security. If the Swiggy tomorrow thinks that I will be stopping all these things, I will be hiring people of my own, then it is an easy hire and fire policy. Easy hire and fire policy. So the low level gig workers are facing many types of problems. But the thing is that economy is changing rapidly. Gig economy is the near future. So we need to have some protection to them. But see, labor is in concurrent list. Labor is in concurrent list. So center and state, both of them can make any type of legislation and all related to the gig economy. So one of the major problem with respect to the gig enti manam accept chesinది social security, PF benefits, healthcare benefit and all. So since it is in the concurrent list, Karnataka government aim chesindante it became the first country in the nation, first state in the nation to make Gig Workers Act, Gig Worker Social Security and Welfare Act. And it had created a separate fund for gig workers. On the name of all of them, they are registering the gig workers. If they are facing any health problem, Karnataka government will be giving money to them. We are giving social security benefit to them. Social security and a pension, healthcare facility, okay. Now is it good or not? Similarly, Revanth Reddy Garu is also bringing the same act in the Telangana, Gig Workers Social Security Act. Now to implement that properly, Karnataka government had unveiled a portal. And the news. You need to know about gig workers. Now in GS1, in GS2, in GS3, in GS4, in from different angles, we will be having questions on gig workers. Women ki linkage adagochu or family ki linkage adagochu in GS1. In the economy, benefits and problems of that can be asked. Right. Anyway, understood what is meant by gig worker. Right. Next. We had seen yesterday Amit Shah Garu is going to Ladakh event. We have to see the outcomes of that. In page number 14, in brief, 6th Nilgiri class frigate joins fleet boosting naval power. See, basically this is a type of ship which is having high stealth capability, అంటే ఇది వస్తున్నట్టు ఎవరికి తెలియకుండా ఉంటుంది, radars cannot detect it. Under project 17A we are building different type of frigates and next day 6th category of frigates have come out. We will be dealing in detail about these defense and all in our defense technology, right? equipments or anything which we had launched in the last 1 year, we will be seeing in our defense technology chapter. You need not worry about them. Page number 15, it mentions about Center ICE new e-bus scheme. See, we know that we have to go for electric vehicles. When we had discussed in our science and technology NCERT classes, we had seen that there is a problem with respect to coal and fossil fuel. We have to go for other alternatives. One of the alternative for fossil fueled vehicles is e-vehicles, electric vehicles. Now, electric vehicles we have to shift in the public sector also, buses and all. For that we are having different schemes. Earlier we had FAME scheme, FAME 2 scheme. Later on we added PM E-Drive scheme. That is finished, that has been completed by April. So, we have to come up with a new scheme. So, center is planning for the new scheme. That is all. Now, when they will be launching the new scheme, we can know more about that. And tomorrow we can see how to deal with these schemes. There will be many schemes. How we have to go with the schemes, we have to see. Fine, everyone? Thank you.